family mode.
Hey, everybody, this is Jeff Vosick, Chief Marketing Officer of GDW Inc., and it's very nice to have you here this evening, middle of the night, tomorrow morning, depending on where you are. I know that our team over in China are running and gunning, and it's like 10 o'clock in the morning over there. So glad to have you. Thank you for taking the time out of your night, evening, or day to be with us. Really quick housekeeping. If you have not been on one of our webinars, the way this works is Alan will be sharing some awesome content with you tonight on multi-channel sales, building a multi-channel e-commerce empire. And then we will talk about some time-sensitive stuff, tell you about a couple of different things that we're doing that may be of interest to you. And then we will go into our famous epic Q&A, and that's your opportunity to ask whatever question you want about your e-commerce business. It does not have to just be about the topic that we are discussing this evening. And the best way to do that, to keep us organized and moving along, is on your GoToWebinar control panel. There is a question and answer little area. Just go in there, type in your question. We will be moderating those and answering those as many as come in. So with that being said, make sure you get out, if you still use pens and pads. I know everybody's pretty digital these days. I know I don't really use a pen and pad very much. In fact, I think my writing's actually getting pretty horrible, Alan, because I don't really use pens and pads. That could be a doctor now. No offense, doctors. But anyways, get ready to take amazing notes. This is not something that's talked about a lot, but it's yet arguably one of the most important things to creating a long-term sustainable e-commerce business. So I assert you're going to probably take a lot of notes. With that, the other thing I want to do really quick and very appropriately is for those of you, we're getting hundreds of people every week, every month into our group, into our ecosystem here. So there's always new people on. I welcomed a few new people that were as we were getting on the webinar here tonight, and definitely want to give a shout out to everybody that's coming on: Antonio, Brian, Carla, Evan, Jim, John, Kelly, Larry, Lloyd, Mitch, Reagan, Sarah. Thank you guys all for being on wherever you're coming from. But some of you may not know who Alan is. So really quick, so that I can get out of the way and let him get going, let me tell you just a little bit about Alan. Alan Basinger is a 15-year e-commerce veteran from the Austin, Texas area. And along with multiple successful physical and consumable product brands, he is our CEO. He is our CEO and founder of GDW Inc., which is a premier provider of just about anything and everything you need done in your e-commerce business: prep, packaging, shipping, aggregating, inspection, third-party logistics, fulfillment, product development, anything you need. And the cool thing is that, we're a place where we can do it all for you so that you don't have to, so that you can enjoy the income and the lifestyle that you've created for yourself, and not have to be packaging products, worried about communications with China and other places that you're sourcing from and things like that. We can do all of that stuff for you and make your life so much easier, so you can focus on the things that you want to focus on. But anyways, Alan's also a sought after e-commerce business coach, mentor, and speaker through our course, our GDW, all of our social media properties, things like that. He's on podcasts. He was just interviewed actually a couple of weeks ago on a pretty big podcast. We've got some speaking engagements coming up. And, a lot of that stuff we do under our training and development brand, which is our GDW Ecom Inner Circle brand and masterminds. On a personal level, Alan is a father. He's a husband and an avid pilot. And, really quick, the one last thing I want to tell you that I think is just probably the thing that's most near and dear to Alan's heart, and really the whole GDW brand as a whole, is just our mission. And our mission to, as soon as possible, absolutely as soon as possible. If we could even do this within this year, and maybe a little bit longer would be awesome. But we really want to help at least 1,000 e-commerce businesses grow bigger, better, and faster, like we've been able to, and again, be able to actually enjoy the income and the lifestyle that you've created through your e-commerce business. And that's really why we're here. That's really why we're doing this. So definitely make sure you stay all the way to the end, because again, we've got some really great information to cover with you, some time sensitive stuff we want to go over with you, and of course our epic Q&A. So without further ado, let me go ahead and bring on the man of the hour, Mr. Alan Basinger. How are you, buddy?
Hey man, I am doing great actually. It's been one heck of a week, I can tell you that much, and it's exciting. The things that I see happening in e-commerce today just make me as excited, if not more excited, than I was when I started GDW. Uh, it's just it's mind-boggling, and as you guys probably know, I try to help you guys through talking about the experiences that I've had and where we're going. So you don't have to be at the same level, but the information that I try to give to everyone has to do with what we're working on or what we have worked on in the past. We start out with our quick launch process, talking about sourcing products, talking about many other things in different webinars. But this webinar is kind of near and dear to my heart for quite a few reasons. So we're going to talk a lot about it. Multi-channel e-commerce empires, and a lot of people talk about empires, but when we talk about multi-channel, we're going to talk about why single-channel sales put you at risk, and I'm going to tell you about my experience and why, as a single-channel seller, quite a few years ago, we got ourselves put in a position that created problems for us. So hopefully you can learn from the experience that we've already been through. Hopefully, we're taking you along for the ride and helping you out. So really excited about it. Really excited about everything that's happening here, everything that's happening with GDW, with our physical brands, and what's going on. So we appreciate your time and you guys being here. Let's go ahead and start the process. So what is multi-channel sales? Well, you see it a lot. You see a lot of marketing. You see a lot of advertising today. If you're like me, you get a lot of those ads that pop up that talk about companies that help you with multi-channel sales and what that is. To me, multi-channel sales is selling on multiple platforms, and it doesn't all have to be e-commerce. Now, of course, there are things like e-commerce platforms that we all are familiar with, right? There are, the Magentos, the WooCommerce, the Shopify stores, and things like that, which are platforms that you know. And then there are marketplaces, and marketplaces are like Amazon, eBay, Sears, Jet's a fairly new one that's coming on. And then you even have offline sales, things that aren't online. And we're going to talk about that. In the past, I'm a little older than than a lot of people, a lot of new folks that are coming up. And in years past, multi-channel would have been brick and mortar stores and direct sales. I remember growing, my career in IT. We worked with a lot of companies that had large brick and mortar presences, and we can talk about like Ford dealerships was one that I worked with extensively at some of the companies I worked at, and they had dealerships everywhere, right? And their challenge was wanting to sell direct to consumers. They had various challenges, and we all know they still really don't sell direct to consumers, but that is a sales channel. The thing is that with the internet and the fact that more and more people are trusting buying online, e-commerce has had massive growth, and it's evolved into a lot of different marketplaces and a lot of different channels. Most of them we're very familiar with. Pardon me, guys, I'm going to open a monster drink for my normal webinar monster. So before we get into the the real nitty-gritty and the details of how small and or large e-commerce companies can implement a multi-channel selling strategy, I want to kind of go over what those potential different channels are for both online and offline sales. And so I've got a little picture that kind of gives you a rough idea of what that is. Offline sales can be a retail brick and mortar store, and for those of you that know, GDW stands for Gadget Deals Wholesale, which is a company I started over 12 years ago. It was a retail brick and mortar store with an online presence. So we weren't 100% online. It was probably 30% of our business, 70% of our business came out of the retail brick and mortar store. You also have things like trade shows and markets. And markets can be, markets is a kind of a general term, but it can be anything from a flea market to any of the specialty markets that are out there, depending on what part of the world you're from. I mean, in China, a market can be anything. We like to go to the night market in China, because the night markets are where you can get really good deals on stuff if you're buying like presents for your friends. Uh, you have marketplaces, and that's Amazon, eBay, Etsy, Rakuten out of Japan, which is a great market that now, I think, then they buy sales.com, Jeff? Isn't that who they bought?
I think so. Yeah,
I
something
think it
like
was
that.
sales.com
Yeah.
they bought. So those are all marketplaces. What a marketplace is a company. So let's just use Amazon as a great example because they are the biggest currently. And Amazon buys online traffic based upon keywords and on products and things that they have, and they drive traffic to their marketplace. They advertise their marketplace. They advertise to the consumers and invite them to come there and buy products. And fortunately for all of us, Amazon, eBay, and these other companies allowed third-party sellers to come in and offer their products as long as we met their requirements. Marketplaces, the brand is the marketplace. The brand is not us. And then we have e-commerce platforms. And e-commerce platforms are a little different because that's like hosted e-commerce or a self-hosted e-commerce. And when we talk about hosted, and we're going to go through this a little bit, but e-commerce platforms, they're ours. We manage them. It's our brand. We drive the traffic to it. It's kind of us. When we look at multi-channel sales, it can be a combination of all or several of these type of sales funnels, to use a marketing term. So shopping carts, we're all kind of familiar with that, and that kind of falls into that area we were talking about where it's like self-hosted e-commerce platforms. That's your retail store, right? This is your online real estate, and I use that word a lot. I talk about real estate in many different ways, but this is your online real estate. You control what that looks like, what the customer experience is, and the look and feel of your brand. You share stories through your blog, you take orders through your shopping cart, you own that, and you have the control and flexibility in your stores that really isn't given through a lot of other sales channels. And the two types we talked about a minute ago were hosted, and that's something like Shopify, or self-hosted, which could be a WooCommerce or a Magento store. The beauty of a shopping cart is that you own it, you control it, and you have a lot more flexibility dealing with customers there than you would in some of the other marketplaces. When we look at the marketplace e-commerce, we look at third-party sellers and products being allowed to sell on these marketplaces. Amazon, Walmart. I'm really excited about what I see Walmart doing, and I look at Walmart as probably going to be a very big competitor to Amazon here in the next year or two. With some of the conference calls that we've had with Walmart, they are putting the pieces in place to be able to compete very heavily, and they do have the money to be able to back it up. Everybody knows about eBay. eBay's a great marketplace. I talk about that quite a bit. In my personal experience, we have two eBay stores, and we have one that's just under $1 million and one that's over $1 million. We do about $2 million a year on two eBay stores, and it's not as big as Amazon, but it's a really nice place to go. And then you can do, it's buy.com, not sales.com. Doink, I had it in the slideshow already. There you go, Jeff. There's the answer.
Yeah.
Rakuten came out
Oh,
of Japan.
when you said they bought I thought you meant since, because buy.com became Rakuten. I thought you meant something else. I'm sorry. Yep, that's
Yeah.
it. Yep.
Rakuten bought buy.com, so you have buy.com, a Rakuten group. Rakuten's out of Japan. You got a great international marketplace out of that. That's a great one. And you have things like Sears.com. So these allow third-party sellers to come into these top marketplaces. These are probably 5 of the top marketplaces available. Etsy should probably be up there as well, and then Jet, where people could come on and they're able to sell their products. But Amazon owns Amazon.com, and it's their brand, and people trust and buy there. Walmart owns Walmart.com. eBay owns that. They set the rules. They set the payments. They determine how much your fees are. So there's a little less flexibility here, but they tend to have a lot more traffic. So there's some benefits to these marketplaces, and we all tend to start out there. I actually started on eBay. So I started on eBay back in about 2000, and was able to make some decent money at that time. I had a good career, so it wasn't like it was my career, but it made me enough money to buy BMWs and take family vacations whenever we wanted, and all of that without having to touch my primary income. So I don't complain about that at all. But these places, remember, are owned by the companies that they represent. And then we have offline sales. Now, in the U.S., we hear all the time, and we have for probably a decade now, that offline sales is dead. Everything's online. But that's not really true, because most of the sales in the U.S., at least, still happen offline. Now, there's a larger percentage, and every single year it grows. Offline sales or online sales are growing quite frequently, and depending on which statistician or stat that you look at, or which media outlet is giving you that information, that number changes. But we look at anywhere from 20 to 30% of retail sales in the U.S. is online, which still means that 70 to 80% is in a retail store. Now, malls may be having a lot of trouble, but retail isn't dead, and retail is a viable option. So let's look at offline sales options. What do we have? One of the best options, and I know quite a few people that make a living in one of these options alone, and that's a trade show. You have lots of them. You have boat shows, you have home shows, you have gun shows, you have a plethora of different shows. You have the toy show in New York City. You have apparel shows that are all over the country. Just about every major city in the U.S. has some form of trade show every single month throughout the entire year. And I know people who make money going from show to show to show in different cities because they stagger them so that you can do that. And they'll do the trade show circuit. I have a good friend of mine, Bruce. Some of you who may have followed me before know Bruce is one of my mentors in sourcing. He makes almost all his money in trade shows. And it's funny because he's funny. I've been with him, and we'll be in China sourcing, and he'll be on the phone. He'll come back. He'll go, "Hey, my guys are doing this toy show, and they just did 30 grand and moved 2 pallets of products in one day." It's just crazy because people come to these shows to buy. It's a great place to do it. Of course, you need to understand it, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But trade shows can gross you a lot of money in a very short time, and they're in almost every major city. And this isn't just in the U.S. This is globally. So there's a great one. There are thousands of them. Brick and mortar stores. I owned a brick and mortar store, Gadget Deals Wholesale Inc. We competed with Best Buy, Circuit City. It's very expensive, but it's still viable if you're smart and you specialize and you know what you're doing. You can still make money in brick and mortar. It's just very time consuming. One of the reasons I got out of brick and mortar was I got tired of working Thanksgiving and every holiday and every weekend every year. It's a lot of work. People who own retail and who work retail, they have to work when everybody else is off because that's when consumers are looking to buy. And so it works. It's definitely there. It is a little more expensive in many ways to start a brick and mortar store, than it is to start an e-commerce store, but it's still viable in many areas. I mean, I know people who have knickknack shops. I know people who have uh, um, shops that are specific to travel. My store was a wholesale store. We did liquidation and we did wholesale, and those kind of stores do really well because there's still a market. There's still a market of people who look for that kind of stuff, and understanding your market is imperative. We're going to talk about that in a little bit as well. Other ways that the kind of way this all comes together is, when we look at the different areas we've talked about, the e-commerce, the self-hosted, the brick-and-mortar stores, different brick-and-mortar style selling channels that go into multi-channel selling strategies. Basically, this is the strategy I used when I got my first eBay business to over $1 million a year. I realized that one eBay store wasn't going to build the business the way I needed to build it, and I had some experiences negatively with some of the sales channels, Amazon in particular, that caused me to look at diversification of my business, and that's an important word. Diversification is very important when it comes to any business. We need to diversify our products, because if you're a single product store, if all you have is one product, then you're kind of setting yourself up to be in a position that if the product falls out of favor, if there's a challenge with that product in any way, you pretty much are going to end up out of business. It's a major challenge. And so having a diversification of your product set is important. Having a diversification of your sales channels is important. And I've said this on many webinars that we've had and webinars that I've had with other people, podcasts and things of that type. I had a business. Part of my business was essential oils on Amazon. And was that 2 years ago, Jeff, when we were at the Formula One on Halloween?
It'll be 2 years ago, October. So what, like 18 months or maybe a little bit
So
more.
about 18 months ago, Amazon, while I was at a mastermind with Jeff in Austin at the Formula One race, it was Halloween, because hard to forget because it was Halloween night, the 31st of October. We were sitting there talking, and I was showing Jeff my numbers, and laughing about how we were doing. We were a $3 million a year company, and everything was great. And I thought I was in a great, safe place. And Amazon sent me an email that basically said, "We've shut off all your listings for all your essential oils because we will no longer allow that to be sold via FBA because we determined it to be hazmat and we don't want it in our warehouses anymore." And so in one day, in one email, tens of thousands of dollars a month in sales were shut off. It was about $1.5 million a year in revenue was turned, and it was very painful, and you learn valuable lessons when you go through that. So hopefully, this is why I'm doing this, to help you guys see that why this is important. That they determined that they didn't want that to be sold through their FBA anymore, so they just shut off my listings. And I laughed because I said all my competitors are still selling. So I sent them an email back saying, if you're not going to let me sell it, how come you're letting everybody else sell it? Well, they turned it back on, and then the next day they shut everybody off, and it was done for everyone. It's their sales channel, it's their sandbox, and so I learned a lesson of diversification of my sales channels because of that. So we were able to move those products on Amazon still, on other places, and do fulfill by merchant and be able to continue to move the products. But the lesson was diversification of our sales channel, very important. The other thing is diversification of your cash flow, diversification of your top line revenue. How are you bringing money into your business? Now, these are just three little areas we're talking about here. You diversify your product set so that way if you have a problem with one product, you're not completely dead in the water. You diversify your sales channels, so if one sales channel has a problem, you're still selling on other channels. And you diversify your revenue streams by diversifying your company and increasing your security. So that's how GDW was born. I had a fulfillment center. We did food products. We already had everything in place to get it going. So we decided that we would open up the fulfillment facility and FBA prep facility to other people. And that was a move for diversification more than anything else. It was to diversify GDW so that GDW could withstand the storms that come through all businesses. See, businesses will have storms. It doesn't matter what business you're in, you're going to run into storms. Storms are just challenges. And you learn from those challenges and you move on. That's how you continue to move forwards and make it happen. So, the essence of the multi-channel selling business model to continue to move forwards, hopefully that story helped you out a lot, or at least some. The essence of the business model, through my experience, has been diversification across the board. One of the first steps I took to diversify my company was multi-channel sales, right? And the goal was to get my products in front of the largest number of potential customers by utilizing our core competencies, right? That's e-commerce, creating listings, photography, sourcing products, and then learning each of the platforms that our business operated on. So we learned real quickly that although similar, none of the marketplaces are exactly the same. They have different rule sets, and they have different requirements to meet their. Let's take an eBay example, and that's top-rated seller. For Amazon, when you start hitting certain volumes, you start getting invited to lightning deals. You start getting invited to their vendor express program. You start getting invited to things that you wouldn't get invited to. So we started looking at how are we going to diversify, but also how are we going to understand these different marketplaces and what they each require so that we can get our products in front of the largest number of people possible and secure our business. So when we first started doing that about 5 years ago, the challenge is that there were no software platforms. We had an inventory management system. It was called Fishbowl Inventory. Great company, great product. I used their point of sale machine and their inventory management in our store. It was, solid as a rock. The company had great support. Wonderful. I will say great things about them. Even today, I have no problems with that company at all. But they did not have the online components that we needed to do multi-channel sales online. So we started trying to develop our own. And I spent tens of thousands of dollars in development to make Fishbowl Inventory work with eBay, and then try to figure out how to make it work with another sales channel. And every time I had to bring up another sales channel, it was a challenge in trying to figure out how to write into their API, figure out what it is they wanted, make sure that we had the correct information in the inventory system to be able to provide it to that sales channel, et cetera, et cetera. Today, you guys don't have that problem. Today, there are great platforms out there, and more being developed every day that give you so much power, so much flexibility that you can easily open up your multi-channel selling. Now, that's not saying that it isn't hard, that it doesn't take work, but it is far easier than it was even just 5 years ago. You can take tech today, manage multiple sales channels, manage shipping across multiple sales channels, report across multiple sales channels a lot easier than we ever were before. So let's look at kind of an example, and this is an example of kind of my place. It's a small version, it's not really there, but it's going to give you a rough idea of what we look like. This is GDW 1.0. When we first came out, we had an Amazon marketplace, we had a couple of, well, we actually only have one eBay marketplace. We have one Amazon store, one eBay store, and our own hosted store. It wasn't Shopify, it was a Magento store. And I went through several different online inventory systems, spent a lot of money, got locked into a lot of contracts that I was not happy with, only to be let down until I found a company called Stitch Labs. And I don't make any money from Stitch Labs. There's no affiliate. I'm not going to try to sell it to you. I use it today. I'm only telling you because this is what happened for us. We used Bright Pearl. We used Fishbowl. We used several others, and they all let us down in many ways. But Stitch Labs for the last almost 4 years now has been solid as a rock. And if I'm running multiple channels, inventory on multi-channels, selling on multiple channels, and need to make sure I manage my inventory and don't do out of stock or oversell, kind of emphasize that word oversell, because you can if an inventory system screws up, it can cause you to sell more than you actually have, which is a massive no-no. So we found that Stitch Labs has been solid. It hasn't caused us to have any of these problems. So what we did was we integrated Stitch Labs, our inventory system, into these different sales channels, and it does real-time inventory or near real-time inventory management across every sales channel. And in this case, today we use more Amazon FBA, but when we first started, that was fulfilled by merchant. That was my fulfillment center, and we were shipping 20,000 plus packages a month out of my fulfillment center here, just for my product and just for one brand. Today it's a different story. We integrate in both fulfilled by merchant, and we also integrate into FBA, and we still use Stitch Labs for it, but we're actually, because we're a 3PL, we're actually looking at making even changes today. We have more marketplaces today. We have multiple eBay stores. We have multiple Amazon stores. We have multiple of our own sales channels. We have Magento. We have WooCommerce. We have quite a few others, and we also have Sears up there today. But this is kind of how it works. Your marketplaces sit there. Your inventory management system integrates into those marketplaces, and then what happens is your inventory system says, I have 100 blue widgets. And so it tells Amazon, eBay, and Shopify, hey, guess what? We have 100 blue widgets. And somebody on Amazon says, hey, I need a blue widget. And so they buy the blue widget, and Amazon tells our inventory system, hey, somebody bought a blue widget. And so our inventory system says, we only have 99 blue widgets left. And then it tells eBay, Shopify, and Amazon, nope, there's only 99 now. And in real time, the inventory is changed on all those stores. So now when a customer looks at that product on that sales channel, it says there's no longer 100, there's only 99. In the past, not many years ago, we had to buy 100 units and decide how we were going to split them up. We had to say, okay, we have 100 of them. Amazon, we can do 60, and we'll split 20 on eBay and 20 on our own website. Or maybe we put 30 on eBay and 10 on our own website based upon the traffic. And so we had to try to manually manage each of those sales channels we're going to do as far as percentages of our total inventory. Today, with things like Stitch Labs, and there's quite a few others, that can be done near real time. And we can just basically say, hey, Stitch Labs, we got 100 units, and we'd like to sell it in Amazon and Sears. Or we'd like to sell it in eBay and our Shopify store. Or we want to sell it across all of our sales channels. Hey, and we want to add a new sales channel, and we want to add all these products to that new sales channel. It's just that easy today. There's a lot of setup, there's work up front, but that's kind of how it works. We have our sales channels, we have that software integration, which does all that, and then we do order fulfillment. Today, that's Amazon FBA and also FBM, Fulfilled by Merchant. So hopefully this kind of gives you a high-level picture of what that looks like, and this is really what GDW looks like from our e-commerce division today. So what do we see as happening in multi-channel selling? You know, I try to keep my eyes on the market, to try to be ahead of the curve and see what's happening. And hopefully you guys have a good high-level idea on roughly kind of how this happens. Again, I'm not trying to sell any products or represent any other company and say you need to be here, you need to be there, you need to do this. What I'm trying to do is help you guys all understand this picture of multi-channel selling and why it's important for you. It's your business, and you can decide that, but this is just kind of, you know, why we do it, and hopefully that, you know, some of you get it and it works for you and you're able to make it happen. But Now that you guys have that, and you got a rough idea how you do it in practice, I mean, there's a lot more detail on how to set up each of these pieces. What does it look like tomorrow? Well, based on what I'm seeing, I feel real comfortable that there's going to be more and more integration of partner software focusing on different core competencies. Because we're seeing it today. We're seeing companies that focus a lot on inventory systems. We see companies that focus on reporting. We see companies that are focusing on customer service. And they all have to do with this whole ecosystem called multi-channel selling. And again, over the last just 2 years, I've seen 3 or 4 new inventory management systems that we've looked at. We've looked at companies like Hello Profit, which I haven't even used yet, that we've kind of looked at. Joe Lister's been around for a while. You know, we see this continuing to happen. And Amazon is a great company, and I'm not going to knock it, right? But I really, truly don't believe it should be any person's only single selling channel. What I look at Amazon is, and this was Kevin King and I talked earlier today on a podcast, and he said it, and I'm going to borrow his words because he was right on the money. Amazon is a great place to launch brand new products, test their viability, test the market need, and tweak and improve those products to the point that you're ready to move them to other sales channels. Now, in his case, those other sales channels are retail, looking to wholesale out to companies like Walmart. But as you build the brand and the brand becomes more recognizable across multiple channels, the bigger retail people will be more interested in you. We sell to Ross. Ross and TJ Maxx. Today, we have products that we wholesale to them that we were able to do because we had such good traction in our online space. So Amazon is a great place to start, but it's not the end goal, at least not in my mind, because Amazon is a company that will shoot first and ask questions later. And many people have had that experience where, and I have, I mean, Amazon just decided they were going to shut $1.5 million off in a day. You know, so a customer complaint, too many customers complain that your product is ingenuine, even though it's yours, you're having it manufactured, you designed it, it's got your logo on it. Some competitors or somebody's not happy with your customer service for any reason at all and decides to write a little note, and the bots over on Amazon or even some live individuals see that and decide to shut your listing off. Those things happen. And so, you know, and then you spend a month trying to get your listing back up or longer. I've had it happen to products that we manufacture right here in this facility that we own, that's our brand, that we're brand registered with Amazon for, and I've had them shut it off. And I had to go through, and man, seller support is a challenge. You know, they're good people, they're doing their job. I'm sure they're swamped. But, you know, it took some emails way up high up the chain to VPs and higher to get them to move and fix that. People who sell on multiple channels, what you're going to see is you're going to see higher revenue, so your top line revenue is going to go up because you're going to increase your sales. Now you go, oh, well, you know, eBay isn't that much. Well, you know what? If I do $2 million on eBay and $5 million total, eBay's how much? 40%, right? 40% of my business is eBay. If I can do Sears and it adds 1 or 2%, for me, that's $40,000 a month. You know, that we start talking about serious money. Although it doesn't look that big, it's still 40 grand a month. As a sales trainer, one of the things I used to tell people when I trained them is the little sales, the small stuff, pays the bills all the time, but the big stuff is what pays for yachts and airplanes and vacations. So I love small sales. I love the additional channels. Even if I can add 1 or 2 new channels a year that give me another 5 or 10% boost in my top line revenue, and I can keep my margin. And in most cases, I can increase my margins in all the sales channels besides Amazon, because Amazon's actually expensive. eBay is less expensive, Sears is less expensive. Of course, my own e-commerce stores are definitely less expensive, and we'll talk about a few other ways that you can make that happen too that are doing. But if you can spread your brand across multiple channels, what you start doing is you start owning that real estate. Remember how we talked about real estate a little bit earlier? And real estate's important because, today people still use Google, and they're out there on their phone and they're talking to, their buddy while they're hanging out, fishing or whatever, and he asks them where they bought that fishing rod, and he tells them, and he sees the brand name on it, and it's your brand name, and he Googles it. If he only sees you in Amazon, he'll feel okay about it. But if he sees you in Amazon, Sears, your own store, multiple channels, guess what? People start taking you more seriously. The brand becomes more legitimate. We're talking about legitimizing. We're talking about social proof. So it's important that you look at expanding in other places, even if the revenues aren't as good. The social proof alone makes it worthwhile, because people on Amazon that go searching for products, a lot of them look outside of Amazon too to figure out your company, to figure out if you're good. If they have any doubts at all, they're going to do research, right? And that's more and more. I'm finding that to be more prevalent today than it was just a couple years ago, as the buying public, as the younger people, millennials, and Generation Xers and things like that, are becoming more of the buying crowd, I guess, the buying public, as they come into their own through their own careers and things like that, and they start making money. They're going to become the people who buy more and more, and they trust online more, but they're also smart enough to use it. They don't feel uncomfortable doing research. They have no problems with that. So by increasing your channels, you're going to see increased revenue. You're going to see increased profits, but you're also going to have increased control over your brand, and you're going to build a better brand. We've kind of talked about that a little bit. And I also think that more and more we're going to see more entrepreneurs expanding their footprints, as we see these people growing up on Amazon or on eBay. They're going to explore their multi-channel selling strategies, and we're going to see that happen more and more. So you'll see more and more companies looking to find out how to do that. And I know I've talked about this before, Jeff. I love Shark Tank, right?
Yep.
I've watched every episode.
Huh.
and I watch every episode, and there's a couple of reasons. One, cool product ideas. Yes, I can get ideas from other people, which is great. But also because you're learning. I've gone through and raised money through IPOs. I've raised money through the Silicon Valley venture capitalists, through Austin Ventures, through Boston, through other places where we've done this. And when you look at how these venture capitalists operate, when you look at the things that they're looking for in a business, you'll see some interesting things. You'll learn a lot, just about basically what business is. And you'll see Mr. Wonderful, who's so funny, but he really does. And I think Mark Cuban is one of my favorites, because he's really good at putting things in a tactful but honest and sincere way. And I've seen him take people who had one or two products. They were working it out of their home, out of their garage. That's all they had. They were doing okay. They were making a nice business, and it was kind of the American dream. They were putting money away. They could pay their bills. Good things were happening. But I've seen them look at him and say, "You're not ready to grow, because this is just a hobby for you still. It's not a real business. You don't have processes. You don't have systems. You don't have multiple sales channels. You don't have diversification of your product sets. You don't have diversification of your income streams. You don't have a team." These are the things that it's a very common thread that I saw by watching all those episodes of Shark Tank. I don't watch TV very much, but I do like to watch Shark Tank, and it's more of an educational process than anything else. So I think we're going to see e-commerce entrepreneurs expanding in multiple channels, as a lot of these people who, like myself, who started on eBay quite a while ago, who have had some success, and who've also been kind of kicked to the ground a few times by some of these other sales channels, realize that the multi-channel selling strategy is very important. So on a personal level, I'll tell you, my business is more secure today than it ever has been. We've weathered multiple storms, from being banned on Amazon, to having Amazon shut off things, to having challenges on eBay, to having PayPal hold our money. We've gone through these storms left and right, and we learn from them. And what I can say is that because we've diversified and increased our sales channels, my company is definitely more secure than it ever has been. And you can weather those storms if you diversify. But if you don't, the first big wind that comes by can blow your business away. So it's pretty important. Here's some of the mistakes that I've seen, and you can see there I got a little cartoon about the mistakes that I've made, and that's only volume 1. I think I probably have at least a 10 volume set. For those of you that would like to order the series, it is available on Amazon.
Nice.
I'm joking.
It's actually available on Amazon, eBay, Sears.
Yeah, that's it. You got it. I'm a multi-channel guy. So, hopefully I've given you guys some good information, and you're kind of getting the idea of why and how the multi-channel aspect works. This webinar, I mean, each of these small subjects that we've gone over, we can go into a lot of depth. The inventory management systems alone is months of work. So I'm just trying to give you guys the high-level things. But some of the common mistakes that I ran into myself, and some of the things I realized very early on and that I watch out for in not just additional sales channels, but even if you're just a single sales channel person, are things like, number 1, cash management. And I've said this, and I will say this again and again and again, more small businesses die because they mismanage their cash than anything else. Again, if you watch Shark Tank, those people are there to get money. Why are they there to get money? Well, some of them because they mismanage their cash and they don't know what they're doing. Most of those people don't get a deal. Some of them need the cash to grow their business because they've grown out of the capital they have available to them through friends, family, profits, etc. We do a whole training seminar in our masterminds on cash management alone. I bring in experts on business finance and mergers and acquisitions and bank loans and how to go through those processes in our mastermind. It is that important, because if you can't get access to capital when your company is growing, it will stop growing. And companies that aren't growing are dying. It's just that simple. With additional sales channels, it is going to take managing your cash even more, because now you're actually going to increase the volume of sales, which means you need more inventory, which means all the pieces that come with that, additional shipping charges, additional duty, all the pieces that come with putting that product up for sale and selling it are increased. So is the benefit, the profits, they're higher as well. But if you have the cash to fund it, then you can't grow it. It's that important. And I know that one of the webinar topics that we'll be going over pretty soon will be business finance, and we're going to bring in some friends and experts on that one. We haven't started it yet, but it is in the works and it is on our list because it's that important. Number 2, inventory management. I met a young lady who was interested in potentially, she didn't know what she wanted to do. She had grown her business up over 2 years. She got it to about $1.2 million, which, man, was killer. She only had about 5 or 10 products, not a whole lot. And she was doing $1.2 million, but she had almost $500,000 in product sitting on the floor in Amazon. So she had $500,000 in inventory on a $1.2 million company. That means over almost half the value of her company was in inventory sitting on the floor. And so any cash she needed to expand was sitting on the floor in Amazon. Managing your inventory is just as important as managing your cash. So being able to pull reports, being able to understand your sales volume, being able to look and see how many units are you selling today, what does that equivalent to month, how much do I need to have on the floor at any one time. I try to only have 45 days of stock at any one time of any product. If I have more than 45 days, there's a problem where I'm just launching it. Because more than 45 days is cash that I could be using to launch more products or to buy inventory on products that are selling really, really well that I need to restock, things of that type. Managing your inventory causes you problems. Another big problem is not having enough inventory. The whole, let's buy 50 units and try this out. testing the market. Well, what if you have a good product that sells really well and it's selling 10 a day? You got 5 days worth of product available. Then you go out of stock. Now your BSRs drop. Your ranking drops, which means you're no longer on page 1. You end up on page 20, 30, 40, 100 by the time you get more inventory in. You spend more money on shipping because you're buying inventory and having it express shipped in a hurry because you're out of stock. Now your margins are cut up. It's just a really bad thing. So managing your inventory is number 2. It's as important as managing your cash. Matter of fact, they kind of go hand in hand, because too much inventory messes up your cash, too little inventory messes up your cash. One of the things I learned a long time ago in sales, Jeff, was never leave money on the table.
Mm-hmm.
It's an old saying. It's a really old sales saying, and that has to do with if there's opportunities to make the sale and the people have money and they're going to buy it, sell it to them. Well, if you go out of stock and people are looking to buy what you have, they're going to buy it from somebody else, and you are leaving money on the table. So that's kind of like a, what would you say, like one of the cardinal sins of sales.
Yep. That's like a cardinal sin of business in general.
So that's important. And how do you do that? You manage your cash, you manage your inventory. So once you start getting into multiple sales channels, now it even becomes more critical. It's a challenge. It's a bigger challenge than it was when you only had 4 or 5 products in one sales channel. So like I said, some sales channels are going to penalize you for not having the inventory. Some are going to give you boosts because you have enough inventory. Knowing what that is an interesting challenge. But luckily, today with the technology that's out there, we can manage our inventory a lot more granularly. What? Say that real fast. We can manage it that way. And we can get automation, and we can get notifications and things like that that tell us, hey, guess what? You only have about 30 days of inventory in stock. And they're called alerts. I have inventory alerts from my inventory management system, and it tells me when I only have 45, if I have 45 days in stock, or if I have 30 days. It tells me when I'm going down. I get notices on that on a regular basis. Amazon will actually give you that in their inventory management system. If you use an FBA, you automatically can use that. You just have to turn it on and make sure you watch it. But when you started moving into other sales channels, unless you're using FBA to fulfill those, which is a good thing to do, and you can do it, or you can use a third-party logistics company like GDW, you're going to need to be able to manage your inventory. So having an inventory management system is a critical piece. Do you need that starting out? No. Is this more of an intermediate to advanced level thing? Yeah, and this topic is we're not talking about brand new beginner stuff right now. Okay, so if you're brand new and this is kind of above you, that's okay. Learn from it and make sure you get our quick launch, make sure you look at our big boy sourcing, make sure you look at some of the things that are geared a little bit more towards that. This is kind of I've got 5 or 10 products, I'm doing 10, 20, 30,000 a month, and I really want to get to $1 million a month. Or $1 million a year. I want to get to $1 million a month. But you want to get to $70,000 to $80,000 a month, $1 million a year. How you manage your business completely changes from $5,000 to $10,000 a month. When you start hitting $40,000 to $50,000 a month, it changes to get you over the hump to the next piece. And a lot of this, what we're talking about, kind of goes with that. Number 3, that is what I'm calling incompatible market choices. If you're developing a high-end product, you generally need to understand the marketplace. Okay, the example is trying to sell a high-end good at a dollar store. You don't go to the flea market with your high-end jewelry or your really expensive products, because it's probably not going to do well there. Understand the market. Understand who that customer is, the customer at that market. That's really important. It's something that we've talked about in our masterminds. It's a pretty regular deal. We talk about downloading your customer data, figuring out who there is, and getting a customer profile done. If you have data on your customers, name, address, phone number, email, even if it's an Amazon email, you can gather data that gives you a customer profile. as long as you have enough of them. If you've got 100 or 500 or 1,000, 1,000 is a pretty good number. 10,000 is a better number. The more you have, the better the picture is. Customers already, you can work with GDW, and Jeff's an expert at this. Jeff, this is why Jeff's part of my team. He's an expert. That's why we're partners. But getting that customer profile so that we know who shops at which of our stores, so we can look at our product sets and determine which markets or which sales channels are better for what products are good. Because I'll give you an example. The customer profile on Amazon is educated, homeowner, 5+ people living in the home. They generally make $75,000 a year or more. That's in the U.S. The eBay profile is some high school or some college, a blue-collar worker, probably makes about $30,000 to $40,000 a year, and not as educated, doesn't have as many people that live at home, in their home. They probably don't own their home, they rent. So you can see those are two different customers. If I'm going to sell a product for a homeowner, do I want to sell it on eBay? When most of the customers on eBay don't fit that profile. No. So understanding your consumer profile and those marketplaces is really important, and that's why I brought that up. Number 4, managing your sales channel requirements. I mentioned this earlier. Each sales channel has rules that are different. Amazon and eBay, although they both sell online, their rules for playing nice in their sandbox is different. And so understanding that, spending a little time understanding their rules, and understanding how you can get preferential treatment. And I kind of made a joke about that. It's profiling. Profiling is not a negative, it's a positive. Understand it, and if you understand what profile these sales channels are looking for in a seller, and you can meet them, you will get preferential treatment. And when I mean preferential treatment, I mean Amazon will give you a loan. Amazon will invite you to their lightning deals. eBay will ask you to get onto their business platform. eBay will give you top-rated seller status, which is an instant 20% boom in sales. A 20% boost in sales. At $1 million, a 20% boost in sales is $200,000. I pay a bonus to my guy who manages my eBay stores of $1,000 a month because I'll give him $12,000 for $200,000 all day. Because we understand what it is that they're looking for, so that we can give them what they require, so they can give us that preferential treatment. What works on eBay doesn't necessarily work on Amazon, and probably won't work on Sears, Rakuten, things like that. So that's definitely different. But when you look at even, like, for example, owning your own shopping platform, WooCommerce, Magento, Shopify, whatever that may be, that's a completely different animal, and you need to manage it in a different way. Understanding how customers get to you, how you find them, how you define them, how you acquire the customer, what it costs you to acquire the customer, what it costs you to fulfill, what it costs you to do all those things is important. And understanding what customers want. A great company who learned how to do that through their own sales channel is, oh wow, Jeff, it's that time of night. I haven't had enough caffeine, and I'm forgetting the name of it. They're shoes, man. Unlimited returns, no questions asked.
Zappos. My buddy
Zappos.
Tony Shea, Zappos.
Yeah, thank you, man. For some reason, Zappos was not coming to my head. Zappos is probably the perfect example on a independent e-commerce platform that does things so well. They know their customer, they know what their customers want, and they give them everything they want. So they've created these fanatics out of their customers and exploded to be so well known. And they've done a great job. Tony has killed it. I would go to work for Tony for free just so I can have him mentor me, so I can learn from him, because of how well he's done that. Because that part of my business is something that is extremely important. They've done it. And so, read the books, figure out how they've done it, figure out what you want to do, what's corporate message going to be, how are you going to treat your customers, and then manage all of those channels across in their own independent way. Um, that's a mistake that's real easy, and it's also why a lot of people, I see people who I knew who had decent eBay stores who jumped on the Amazon bandwagon and threw their eBay stores in the garbage because they couldn't manage both of them at the same time. They didn't want to put in that effort or do something that's called hiring a person, getting a VA or an employee or a partner to come in and do it. You can't build a business by yourself. Not really. You can build a hobby. You can create another job for yourself. But you really can't build a business without partnerships with other companies and potentially partners within the company and or employees if you really want to get big, and if you want to have something that gives you that security. See, for me, the number one most important driver for me is security for my family. Nothing else. That's it. All I want to do is provide for my family so they need or want nothing. I want to make sure my kids can go to college without having a massive college debt behind them. I want to make sure that I have a retirement and that my wife is taken care of, and if we get sick or anything happens to us, we're good. I don't want to worry about a car payment or if the tires are bald in my car, if the battery goes out. Hell, I don't want to, well, I have to worry about that. I own 6 cars right now, so it's kind of a pain in the ass. So what I want to do is hire somebody just to manage all my fucking vehicle. Oh, did I say that? All my vehicles. I apologize. Gary V. I was
Are you
channeling
channeling Gary?
I was channeling Gary, and that one tried to slip out. I tried to be very aware of that, but it was a mistake. I apologize. But it really is. It's managing a lot of different things. It's hard to do independently. I actually did a whole blog post about spinning plates in your business and how, and it was basically based on my experience running around chasing one thing that was having a problem and fixing it, and then running to the next one with a fireman with the fire hat on. Managing that is challenging. So this is, a common mistake that people, especially people who don't have any management experience or haven't grown any companies of any size, they won't understand that it's a process, and you have to have faith in the process and trust it. If you don't have faith in the process and you don't trust the process, it will fail. It may not fail right away, but it will. So have a good understanding. Have that process. Know what it is and have faith in it. Develop the process or standing operating procedure, or copy it from someone who already has it. I mean, we have our process for quick launch and give it to people for free, and it works great. Lastly, customers purchase your products, guys. It's your product. It's your brand. So I don't care if you're on Amazon, eBay, Sears, any of the other channels. You need to make sure that you're getting the list of your customers who buy your product. Now, I know certain sales channels may have a term of service that says that you cannot market products directly to the consumer to take them off of their site, which is definitely true. But there are ways around that, and I will tell you that for sure. Building your customer list is the #1 most valuable thing you can do in your business. As a matter of fact, if any of you want to sell me your customer list, I will buy it from you because I understand the value. And why do I say that? Because that customer list has already bought from you. You have a relationship. And if they like your product, then they aren't going to have a problem if you offer them a deal on another product. If you upsell them, or even if you want to liquidate out of a product, I would offer that to my existing customers who have given me full price on a product before I offered it to someone else. Why do I want to do that? Because I'm building a brand like Tony over at Zappos. I want customers to go, hey man, those people over at blah 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 brand, man, they just gave me this great deal. Next time I'm looking for something, I'm going to go find them. I want to build mind share in that consumer so that they buy from me all the time. Your customer list is huge. We've done, in our mastermind, we talk a lot about this one subject. and we talk a lot about what we can do, what has worked, what doesn't work, what we can get away with and what we can't get away with, what's skirting the edge, how to do it. And we only like white hat stuff. I don't do any black hat techniques in sales. I don't like that. It's always short term. It's fat. It's like cheating the system. You can make some money fast, but it's never long term. This is security for me and my family, so I'm building long term. But white hat techniques are great. Nothing wrong with that. And but that customer list, like I said in the slide here, it's a topic all by itself. And if you're brand new, don't worry about it, but make sure you're getting the customer's information, all of them. Get in a big database, get in a spreadsheet, wherever you can get it, put it away in a secure place or whatever, because eventually we're going to talk about that in detail, probably at one of my masterminds, or maybe on a trip to China, which is basically a mastermind. For those of you who don't know, I mean, we did a mastermind last December, brought 20 people, 18 out of the 20 are over $1 million in the last 6 months, on a run rate for $1 million a year, which means they were basically at about 10,000 a month when they came, because that was the minimum requirement, and now they're 80,000. Some of them are at 300,000 a month. So the stuff we're talking about works. These are the topics that we talk about to make it happen. Jeff, are you crinkling paper, dude?
I don't think so.
Sound
Oh, you
like
know
it.
what it is? It's because it's my microphone. I gotta stop playing with my microphone.
You don't have the cover thing on it?
No, I'm going old fashioned here. I'm not even using Bluetooth, believe it or not. I have a microphone that is actually plugged into my computer. Can you imagine that these days?
What has happened to you? You're not the Jeff I know.
I know.
Call out. You're the pod people have taken you away.
The pod people. Hey, can I interject just really quick?
Sure.
A number 5 that I think that we should probably do on another webinar. It could be a whole entire training series itself. You mentioned it a little bit.
Yeah.
Is just the whole different way, branding and marketing. Which I mean, it's obvious that I'm going to say this because this is my wheelhouse. Branding and marketing comes to play when you're going multi-channel, and as you know, Alan, it's different by channel, it's different by the customer, and things like that. And one of the reasons why I bring that up, Alan, is because I know there's a lot of people on here that do Amazon FBA, and one of the mistakes that I've seen a lot of people on Amazon that are on Amazon do is they go quote unquote off Amazon, and they don't really know a whole lot about direct response marketing and branding and things like that. And in fact, I can actually think of specific clients, specific people I've worked with in the past,
Oh yeah.
that if I said their name, if I said the product, because you and I have talked about these people before, if I said the product, you would know exactly what I'm talking about. And they went off Amazon, killed their business because they forgot, wait a minute, Amazon's doing a whole lot of the marketing and stuff for me. If I go off Amazon, I'm going to have to do. And that's one of the things that we really help a lot of people with, that a lot of a lot of other quote unquote gurus aren't talking about, is things like the branding and the marketing and stuff like that, so that when you go off Amazon, or when you start going multi-channel, it's a different ball game. You don't have to be a high paid direct response copywriter to be successful. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying, there is a science and a process and everything to marketing, not on Amazon, and how you market on eBay versus your own website versus Sears versus Shopify, etc. So I just wanted to, to point that out.
Definitely, man. Definitely, and that was one of the subjects that you covered in our mastermind in last December, and that we'll be covering again in our mastermind this December. So it's definitely a subject that we go over quite frequently. There are quite a few people that are in our mastermind group and that are not Amazon sellers. There are quite a few of them that have their own stores that do really well. I can say right off the bat, TJ kills it offline, not on Amazon,
Yep.
on other channels. He is killing it, multi-million dollars. He is tearing it up, and he has embraced it wholeheartedly and doing a great job, man. I'm so proud of him. So, those are definitely things that we will talk about, things that we'll go over. It's something I talked to Kevin King in depth about today, was about how he does what his off Amazon strategy looks like. He's got some great tips that I learned from him, and I learned from everybody. So it's great. I learned great things from him. But the goal for this webinar is to talk about multi-channel. And yeah, you don't have to be an expert in all these things. You can find experts to help you in some of these areas. And you may say, hey, you know what, I'm on Amazon, I'm doing great. Let's move to something that's very similar. It's not exactly the same, but it's less risky. We can go to get some eBay stores going. That'll work. And then we can move and get some Etsy stores going, and that works. And we can do, that's what I did. I went and just moved from one of those sales channels to another one just like it. And then once those were up and running very well, started looking at expanding off Amazon and what can we do to do that. But other things that you can look at that give you a similar effect are international and global e-commerce. So looking at Amazon Canada and Amazon UK and Amazon EU and Amazon Mexico, that can help you out as well, because you're diversifying again, but you're diversifying by country as well. So that goes into the diversification strategy. Amazon's a great sales channel, and again, for getting a brand up, like Kevin said today, to get a brand up and moving and test it out and make sure customers are happy with it before you go into another marketplace, it's by far the best, but it's not perfect for sellers. Matter of fact, Amazon is probably is a customer-focused, customer-centered company, and that's why they are so good, because they care about their customers so much. If it's good for the customer, Amazon likes it. If it's bad for the customer, Amazon doesn't like it at all. So it's not perfect for sellers. It's perfect for customers. That's a philosophy that they have, and it's the reason why they are who they are. They are customer focused. So, we mentioned it earlier. Amazon will shoot first, and they have an ask questions later approach, and you're guilty until you prove that you're innocent. It has massive competition. And their fees are super high. 25% easy of the money that you could make on your product. If you're following a standard pricing model, you're going to spend 25% of the cost of that product is going to be the sales channel, Amazon. Whereas eBay may only be, for me, it's about 9 to 12%. It's going up a little bit now. And Sears is a different percentage. And then external niche sites like Shopify, where you set up your own store and drive it up, their costs are going to be different as well, right? The volume may not be as high in my eBay store as it is on my Amazon store, but my margins on eBay for the same product are better. These are why expanding into these channels are good. And margins in direct sales, like trade shows, are through the roof. They're amazingly good. We get brand exposure being off of Amazon, and we get lower customer acquisition costs in other marketplaces. So when Amazon shuts off your store without warning, like they did me, you'll be glad that it's not your only source of revenue, because I sure was. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here today. Whoops, let me back up. All right, so basically in closing, I'm going to talk a little bit about GDW. I think Jeff talked about it. We've become a premier provider of sourcing through direct sourcing models. We do something we call win on the buy, and you've seen blog posts that we've made about it. You've probably seen others done. Winning on the buy. It's number one most important thing. Buying your product, managing your cash, right? So we help people through sourcing and third-party logistics, meaning freight, shipping, duty, taxes, getting prepped to Amazon, things like that. We're located in Houston, Texas. We're probably one of the few, if not the only, end-to-end sourcing logistics company that I know of worldwide. I know lots of companies that will prep your products. I know some companies that help you source. I know other companies that can do your freight, but I don't know any other companies that can do it all. And the reason I built it was because I saw a need in the market. I saw a gap. I saw that people needed it. And I also realized that, like myself, I want other people to do the hard work so that I can enjoy, so I can fly my plane because I love flying. and I want to do what I love a lot, but this pays for it, right? So we do the hard work so you can enjoy the dream. The reason we go into business, the reason we started these things, the reason we became e-commerce entrepreneurs is to live that dream, that on the beach with our laptop, ordering products, talking to our people, and having a great time with our family, friends, and stuff like that, living that dream, right? So GDW is there because we're the one-stop shop that can help you with all the hard work so that you can sit on the beach there and have a great time. Somebody put this in here so you can read it. Uh, oh man, yeah, I don't like talking about myself all that, so I'm just gonna skip that. I'll skip that one. Anyway, you can find out a lot about us. You can go to our website, gdwinc.com. We have a Facebook group. A lot of you probably came on this from our Facebook group. Maybe it came from somewhere else, but if you did, just search GDW in Facebook and you'll find GDW FBA Prep, and you'll be able to sign up on our Facebook group. Or you can sign up on our website, become a member, and check out the blog and get emails from us when we get new posts and new content like this webinar. Every time we put up a webinar, you'll be on the list and we'll send you an email, and hopefully we educate you and give you information that's useful for your business and help you grow. And all of this is free. We don't have any charges for that at all. Or you can come with me to China. I leave at the end of July. We're going to meet in China. Most of us will arrive on the 27th, and on the 28th we begin to learn something I call sourcing like the big boys. When you start to really want to grow your business, you want to learn how to source. Sourcing is the #1 most important part of your business, because if you pay too much for your product, then someone like me can get in there and undercut you because I can buy the product cheaper than you can. And it's not because I buy more volume, it's because I source directly in China and not online, and I find that online sourcing is more expensive. Also, we will be masterminding in China, so every evening, this is a working trip. This is not a vacation or a party. We'll have fun, trust me. I don't want to work as hard as I work without having a little bit of fun, but we will be working. It's every night is a mastermind. I have special guests. I have people who are part of this millionaire group you see here who will be there. They're in my mastermind group. They have become millionaires or in 12 months or less through our process. They're going to be there. They're going to talk about sourcing. They're going to talk about launching. We're going to talk about identifying products. We're going to talk about how to launch products. We're going to talk about how to do keywords. We're going to talk about how to do your listings. We're basically going to talk about how to do everything from sourcing to launching. And GDW can help you with your logistical aspects as well. You can find out more about China trips by going to gdwinc.com/China, and that'll take you to a big giant page with 20 million words of information and a few pictures and maybe a couple of videos. And you'll like it. It's got basically every question you have about a China trip is going to be on that. It goes over everything, so it's a good one if you guys want to go there. Check that out, man. We'd love to have you there. The China trips are pretty exclusive. It is a mastermind. It's not just a, hey, let's go and buy some stuff. It's more of a, hey, let's go help you buy stuff, show you how to buy the right stuff, and teach you how to launch it, and hold your hand and walk you through step by step everything it takes to source the product, import the product, and launch the product successfully on Amazon. It includes a hotel. We fix your internet by getting you a 4G China SIM card. We give you a shopping guidebook of the market. You get a personal translator. Each individual person has their own personal translator. We do masterminds every day. I'm doing office hours to schedule one-on-one time with each person who schedules themselves on my office hours every day so that I can spend time with you independent of the group and look at what you're doing and give you tips and help you work through any questions that you may have. All the meals and everything are included, and all the group transportation is included. It is a all-inclusive event. It is a mastermind, and it is a step-by-step process, and we're going to follow the exact same process I use in my business right now to launch my products, and that currently hundreds of other people do as well. Anyway, I guess now we're going to do the Q&A thing, and I'm open for just about any question. Jeff, if you want to do that. Looks like, based on the slides, we only have 3 spots left. 3 left, guys, and I offered a special deal for the last 10 people that sign up can hang out one day late, because I'm actually going to source products and you're going to be with me while I source them. So I'm going to walk you guys through it and show you how you're going to get the additional office hours and some private stuff. We're going to hang out, eat together, and mastermind, and that's only for 10 people, so it's going to be a real small group with a lot of one-on-one, a lot of special time. So it's going to be great, and I have 2 multi-million-dollar experts and guests that are coming, and they're going to come to help. They're going to come to instruct and coach, and they're going to come to work with us. So you'll be able to hang out with them as well. It's going to be cool. I guarantee you, ask any of the people that have been with me, that have followed the processes that we do in our masterminds. It's a life-changing event, and it's not just me showing this slideshow like we are right now in a webinar. It's live, step-by-step, holding hands, and after we go to China, we do a once-a-week mastermind every Tuesday, where we hang out and we go step-by-step through everything, make sure that we're all on the same page, and that we're ready to go, so that when the product does land in the U.S. and is going into Amazon, we're ready to make it happen. So what kind of stuff do we got, Mr. Jeff?
Yeah, I actually wanted to ask really quick, what are your thoughts on how like native commerce plays into the multi-channel things like, like Facebook commerce, and things like that? I know we've talked about that recently. So what are your thoughts on, some of the those kind of things that's coming up?
Great question, and a lot of people who followed me at all know that I've been in the food business. I'm kind of in some niches in the food business, and we're using. I mean, one of the strategies we have is to build audiences of people who are interested in this niche-based food on Facebook, and using something called native advertising. And Jeff, you're better at that than I am, but basically giving them lots of content, tips, tricks, giving valuable information, much like we do with these webinars. I mean, right now, today, guys, we're doing native advertising. We're giving you valuable information, and at the same time, we're promoting some of our services, right? And so using native advertising, giving people valuable content on these food products, how they can use them, how they can dress them up, how they can use them in different ways that they may not have think, different recipes, things like that. We can do that with these audiences that are interested in it, and then offer them every once in a while. And this is we use, and Jeff knows this, I like to use Gary Vaynerchuk's method, and that's, jab, 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 right hook. We basically do the same thing on Facebook with native advertising. We give, 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 and then we let them know, hey, we got a special offer on this special food product. And you'll be surprised at how many people buy. And what we've noticed is that if you drive traffic outside of Amazon and from like a Facebook ad, and you do your ads right, and you drive traffic and it converts to sales on your Amazon store, Amazon gives you like I don't know what their algorithm, but their algorithm is real happy about that. And you can watch your BSR rankings go up because you're paying for the traffic and you're driving it. I mean, I can imagine, and I'm just speculating, that Amazon says, hey, we didn't pay for that traffic, they did, and they're driving it to our store. We like these people. Give them preferential treatment. Remember, we talked about that preferential treatment. What gives you preferential treatment on the selling platform? And so that's definitely one of them. Other products that we can't sell on Amazon, let's just say essential oils maybe is a good example. I'm just kind of pulling that one out for you guys now. We set up our own Shopify style store, or WooCommerce, Magento, whatever that may be, and then we can use Facebook traffic that for people who like that product, who are in those products, homeopathics, and or isn't that what it's called? Not home. Is it homeopathic?
Homeopathic. Yeah. And there's naturopathic as well. I'm not really sure exactly the difference, but yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. So we find the people that are in those markets develop those audiences on Facebook, and then drive traffic to that store. And it's not huge, but it's good enough money. I mean, if you're making $40,000 or $50,000 a year on a site you pay $10 a month for, to products, and your cost per customer acquisition is $1, it's nuts. It's super cheap. why not build 500 of those sites? It's definitely a great strategy. I know people who have 50 or 60 websites, and that's what they do. I know there are some friends that Jeff knows better than I do that I follow because they are experts at doing that, and they're doing $35-40 million a year that way. These guys are just amazing, and I wish I had all the secrets to their process because they knock it out of the park. So I mean, some of you guys may be those people, or maybe the next one. So great question though. But yeah, natural advertising is like the latest thing, and it works really well because it's not pushy. It's not that in your face, big giant sale sign that we've all become oblivious to. How many of you guys drive down the road, go walk through the mall or do something, and every store has discount, sale? I know stores that go out of business every month because the going out of business sign they think it brings them traffic, but eventually people get wise to it, right? And it's so noisy and there's so much of it that you become immune, maybe is a good word to it. You ignore it. You just kind of, okay, I've seen that before. There's nothing to see here. These are not the droids you're looking for.
It's called ad blindness.
Yeah, exactly. Great one. To borrow a term from our friends in Star Wars, right? But yeah, ad blindness happens. So the natural ads are much more effective and work a lot better. Great question, Jeff.
Cool. The only one, I don't want to monopolize this, but I know you and I like to go around a little bit too. One more thing, and then I'll get to it. We have a few other questions. Is when you were talking about mistakes and things like that, is there anything else that people should be aware of when they're going multi-channel, mistakes that might be made, things to look out for when it comes to things like fulfillment? I mean, I know you talked about inventory, but just other things related to fulfillment, and you also kind of mentioned this just a little bit, like payment processing. I mean, payment processing changes when you're like not on Amazon using theirs and stuff like that. I remember you mentioned PayPal and some debacles we've had with them. So anything related to like fulfillment, merchant payment type stuff that you feel like people should look out for, things like that.
But I kind of mentioned one of them, and that's the inventory management system, or the piece that integrates all the channels together. I started with that platform, the Fishbowl platform, which came from my store, my retail brick and mortar store, which was a great product. And since there was no Stitch Labs or Scubana or whatever, and I'm not going to promote Scubana, but there were none of those at the time, and so it was challenging. And when I started looking for them, and I found only a couple, that I would say that the biggest challenge is making sure you ask the right questions before you jump into a contract with any of those companies. Understand what the true cost is. And also, and when I mean ask the right questions, I mean like, how long have you been in business? How many customers do you currently have on your platform today? How many concurrent transactions can you do per minute? Little questions like that, which is weird. You may not think of them, but they're important because marketers will go out there and sell you and say, hey, we've got this great platform, it's the greatest thing in the world. Nobody else in the world does reporting like we do. And they're lying because other people do. But they want you to buy their stuff. And they got the greatest thing since sliced bread. And, if you don't, how many customers do you have on it? Well, is it stable? Yeah, well, it's stable. We know it because we've run our own stuff on it. But how many customers do you have on it? None. We just launched. Well, that's a red flag. That's a red flag, and I would move on to the next one. How many concurrent connections can you do per minute or per second? Because what are you doing right now? What is your max? I want to know, have they tested it? Do they know how many customers they can put on that system? Or also, are they funded? I'll say this right about the bat. Never buy an application from an online information marketer, ever. Because they aren't funded. They're bootstrapped. They're bootstrapped apps. They're going to have bugs. And if that one guy who's developing on it decides he isn't going to do it anymore, it's gone. And you're stuck. And you have very little recourse. This is 20 plus years in IT. These are the questions that you would ask. You want to make sure that a key critical component of your business isn't going to go down tomorrow. Isn't going to. We went with a company out of the UK. It was one of the early inventory management integrators that would manage your inventory and integrate with eBay, Amazon, Sears, Rakuten, etc. And they were early. They had a beautiful interface. It was very intuitive, looked really good. But the damn thing crashed on a regular basis and would misrepresent inventory in the different sales channels. We ended up overselling 10,000 units of one product in a weekend because the dang thing kept telling the sales channel that we had it in inventory when we had sold out. It wasn't moving the inventory down. It was buggy. The people were nice. They didn't have U.S.-based customer support. They were out of the U.K. They didn't have any real support. Everything went back to the developers, and the developers were in India. So you had to talk to the U.K. so they could talk to the developers in India to try to get things to happen. And I was in a 3-year nightmare contract with these people, and it was miserable. So I wouldn't make that mistake again. That's why I'm really, leery about jumping in bed with anybody who isn't funded, doesn't have the capital or access to capital to be able to grow the technology to make sure that their customers are taken care of, to make sure that they have a customer service system in place that isn't send an email here and somebody will respond in the next few days if I'm not on vacation. Those kind of things are challenging. Same thing goes with GDW. I mean, we've expanded, grown and increased our people, and added customer service and ticketing systems, added the back-end systems, or adding automation, bought forklifts, pallet wrap machines, shrink wrap machines, all the things we need to make sure that we can take care of customers. And I've hired and developed my organizational team in order to make sure that if I go on vacation, customers still get taken care of. There's still someone answering emails and tickets, and your goods are still being processed and shipped out the door, and things still function without me. So that's probably what I would want to say about that. Now, what was the second part of that one, Jeff?
I was just asking any tips, things to look out for once you venture into the merchant processing, taking payments other ways and stuff.
Understand your merchant processors is pretty important because not all of them pay immediately. Today more and more of them do. It used to be that merchant accounts, it would be weeks or a month before the money actually made it into your bank account. Today they're pretty dang quick, usually within a day or two. But they may have reserves. And a reserve, it may means that they look at your company as being really new and a little bit of a risk, so they want to hold, let's just say 10% of your monthly revenue in reserve to deal with any chargebacks or issues with your product. And this is a potential challenge. I mean, if 10% of your money, that's 10%. That's 10% of your profit, because it's actually more. Because if you look at it, it's 10% of the total sale. And let's look at it like this: if you sell it for $100, it costs you $50 to make it and sell it. Your profit's $50. They're holding 10% of 100, so 10% of 100 is 10. 10 out of 50 leaves you 40. It's actually 20% of your profit that they're putting in reserve, and those reserves can be 3 months or 6 months that they're going to hold that money. So understand how those processors work. Also understand, what they're looking for or what the triggers are for challenges. PayPal freaked out when we quadrupled in size in 30 days. I mean, literally freaked out. Kept taking customers' money, kept holding it in there, didn't allow us to pull any out. We had to go through many phone calls and send them bank statements and proof of the products and go through a lot of hoops to get them to to do business with us. And even then, it was a big challenge. And eventually, we just had to determine that they were not going to work for our business anymore, and we moved away from them because they don't. Now, I still have PayPal accounts, and I use them on some of my eBay stores, and that's it. Though. I really try not to use them for anything else, just for that reason. But you know, you just gotta understand a little bit more about how external merchants happen. You know, we all know that eBay will pay you. I think the normal rate on a new account is what, every 2 weeks. If you have an older account like I do, it's grandfathered. You can basically ask for a payment anytime you want. But you know, you're going to get that payment every 2 weeks. So managing your cash and knowing that you're going to get that money every 2 weeks is important. But Sears may not be every 2 weeks, or PayPal may be something different, or you know, Authorize.net merchant account through a bank may be a little different. So just have a good understanding of what those requirements are. And this is business. There's a lot of moving parts. Good question.
Cool. Seth is asking, this is interesting. He said there's a passage in the Amazon terms of service that politely asks to not sell your products for less than on Amazon on other platforms. He wondered if you had any thoughts on that.
You know, I don't like to leave any money on the table. We talked about that one earlier. So I'm probably not going to try to sell my product for less on other sales channels, especially if I can make more margin on those other sales channels. The challenge is more in the customer service area, and you don't have to sell it for less, and you can advertise it for the same price. But there are other things that you can do to, let's say, maybe influence or help the customer make the decision to buy from one marketplace over another.
Cool.
So I may use some of those tactics to help influence customers and say, you know, maybe, for example, a flash sale, or maybe a coupon, or if it's a repeat customer, maybe a special deal for repeat customers, or a VIP deal or something, and they can do it that way. So there are ways to do it and to slowly and methodically do that without breaking Amazon's terms of service.
All right, Larry, who is going on the trip with us at the end of next month. Looking forward to seeing you, Larry. Do you guys have an international sales strategy? Kind of a broad question, but interesting.
Well, I mean, like we mentioned earlier, I think that, you know, international sales is diversification. You know, in a global economy, especially, I mean, look at Brexit and kind of what it's done to the global markets. In a global economy, selling globally is actually a positive. I don't necessarily think, you know, you need to be ready for it. You need to have, you know, it could be a long-term goal. I'm very goal-oriented. You know, one of the things we do in our masterminds is plan. And, you know, like in December, the December mastermind for me is planning the next year. So, you know, yeah, I learned some things from people, and that's great, and I teach people stuff, and that's great. But more than that, it's what strategies are we going to implement in 2017? This December on Mastermind, we're going to determine what strategies we're going to implement as a company across all of my brands and all of our revenue streams, all of our sales channels, all of our companies. So we'll look at that and decide, okay, we're going to focus here, and we're going to make adjustments there, or we're going to implement these strategies and determine what those are going to be. And then what I do the following year is execute. GDW was executed on a mastermind. It was planned and developed on a mastermind and executed following. You know, so how are we going to execute? What's in plan for next year? I'll tell you what, exciting things, very exciting things are planned for next year. GDW is positioning itself to really, really be that intermediate and high level organization to help people really grow their business. So GDW's got some really exciting things coming. So I'm excited. But international is part of our strategy, but it wasn't part of our strategy necessarily for this year. I mean, we did look at it. It was something that was interesting, but we still had a lot of money on the table in the U.S. and we weren't ready to do it. And I didn't have, to be honest, I didn't have all the people and the team in place that I thought I needed to execute it correctly.
All right, John, who's also going on the trip, is
You guys
asking.
everything, man. I'm
um,
excited. That's great.
so will I'm not sure. Maybe you understand this. Will Alan chat about his quote unquote sort of escrow service?
Okay, it's not an escrow service because that's a different legal entity. It's more like a holding account. Okay, and this is for people who come to China. So those of you who are thinking about it, it may be something you're interested in. One of the things we do, I have a warehouse in China. So international business, I already have it, but it isn't selling international yet, other than Canada. But the China warehouse that we have is there so that when we source products in China, we deliver them to our warehouse in China before we pay for the product. See, when we go and source, this is something that nobody else does. I put no money down. I put little to nothing down. Matter of fact, our whole goal this trip to China is to go zero money down on all our orders, and to help the people who come with us do the same thing. Matter of fact, we tell people don't even. I mean, if you're going to if you bring 10% of your budget, and guys live on a budget, please. If you bring 10% of your budget for products that you're going to buy and source in China, you probably will leave with most of that intact. I think last time I put a total from everything I ordered, maybe 3% of my total order down as a down payment. And then we placed the orders and we had the product shipped to our warehouse in China. There, that product is inspected, and it's inspected based upon the samples that we got from the suppliers before we left. So one of the things we do is we go and we visit these suppliers and we find the products, and then we place orders and we bring samples. We have a sample that matches what we're looking to buy, right? You know, you may put a logo on it or change the color, but the basic structure, material is the same for the most part. Now, sometimes you customize and it's different, but we can get the basic idea of what it's supposed to be, look at what is supposed to be included or changed on it, and then we will inspect that product and make sure, one, that the quality is good, and two, that the quantity is correct. And then once it's approved, we will release the funds to the manufacturer. This is kind of like an inspection service, but it's not the same as, you know, a company like VTrust, which will send out employees to the manufacturer and inspect that stuff before it leaves the manufacturer. We inspect it before we pay for it, but we inspect it and we have the manufacturer deliver it to us. If it doesn't meet the requirements, we will decline it and not pay them any money. And they don't like that, but I don't want a product I can't sell, and neither does anybody else. So that's kind of how we do it. And so basically what we do is we set up a holding account, and everybody wires their money into the holding account, and then it isn't taken out and used until it's approved. If a product has been declined and is not worthy when they deliver it, and there's no, what would you say, if we're not able to negotiate a settlement to figure out, you know, a reduced price, or you just decide that it's just not right and you're going to decline it completely, then at that point that money is still in that holding account, and it can be used for GDW services, it can be used for shipping and duty, or it can be refunded. That's your choice. It's basically to protect us all, because all of us have a story where we've ordered a product and then what we had delivered was not the same as what we expected. And since we're there and we're with the manufacturers and we see the quality and we have a sample with the quality that we expect, then we can basically inspect against that and ensure that what we get is pretty damn close, if not better than what we expected when we made the order. So that's basically what that's for, man. Great question, though. I appreciate it.
Cool. Larry again. Some seven-figure Amazon sellers scale their business by partnering with newer sellers to open multiple Amazon accounts. Has GDW considered this? If not, why?
Yeah, we have. We've considered it. There's benefits and drawbacks to that. I would rather just buy somebody outright because we have processes that are ours, and they may have built their business utilizing different processes that generally can be challenges. You got to make sure that the partnership and the marriage is going to be good. I don't like to just jump into partnerships because they are a lot like marriages. It takes a lot of communication. It takes a good structural organization, and it takes leadership. And a lot of us are A-plus personality types. That's why we got in the business for ourselves. Some people just don't marry well, you know. So the time it would take to go through the honeymoon process, to be able to do that, to be able to make that happen, is pretty long. So for me, I look at it, and to me, it just makes more sense just to buy it outright. Maybe have a little bit of a transitional period, and then allow them to go and do their thing, and then us to do our own. And considering I'm launching 100 products this year, and I'm going to try to launch 100 products every year, most of the time I don't need to worry about it.
All right. We just have someone who, some kudos here from Robert. I agree with many of the things you're saying tonight. 30 years in business myself, especially about Amazon and eBay differences with products and customers and managing both properly. Thank you, Robert.
Thanks, Robert, man. Appreciate it. Definitely, even if you get that one.
Yeah. Norman just asking, how do we get your launch process? I'm going to paste the link to the recording of that webinar where we went through that. I'll post that in there for him.
You can probably find parts of it even on our Facebook group as well. On the blog, there's a lot of great information on the blog.
Yes. Parts 1, 2, and 3 are actually on our Twitter and our Facebook page, and then we have the whole thing in a recording as well.
And if you're in our mastermind group, you have access to not just the information in these webinars, but even more. Sure. And so, that's definitely a benefit. Matter of fact, I think the information on the mastermind group is substantial, and if it was an information marketer, I could probably sell memberships to that for tens of thousands of dollars all by itself. But we don't do that. So we'll definitely give you guys a link and let you see what that launch process looks like. The beauty is that you can watch the webinars and you can hear about what we talk about, and hopefully you find value in it and things like that. But the beauty of the mastermind and the beauty of Coming to Source with China is we actually take you through that process step by step and hold your hand while we do it. Walk you right through it. You get to watch me do it live. So we're going to go and do it, and you're going to watch me buy products that I will launch live. And then for 8 weeks plus after the event, after you go to China and source with us, we're going to mastermind independently as a small group and walk through the process and actually go through in each piece. And I'll open up my business and show you how I create inserts and how I get customers off of Amazon and how I do packaging and how I look at iterative, I can't say the word right now, wow, iterative improvements, and how we do with feedback, how we do reviews, how we launch the products, how we do keyword research. We'll bring on friends of ours, Brian Johnson at PPC Scope, probably one of the best Amazon marketing experts in the world today, is a friend, and we'll have him come and talk to you guys and do just like I'm doing now, answer your questions, go over things, show you how you can look at those reports that they have and determine what's working, what's not, and how to develop your pay-per-click strategies. We'll have people come on that'll talk about, you know, feedback and reviews and how to do that. We'll bring on people from different to talk about different launch strategies. The cool part is that I'm not going to ask you to buy anything, and I'm not going to give you our URL with some link, or their URL with some link with our name in it or something, because we get an affiliate fee on the back. Because I don't do that. I don't accept affiliate fees. I don't want their money. I don't need it. And I also will not promote shit that I don't work or I don't believe in. Excuse the French, but it's true. I don't. I'm not here to sell you information or get you to buy somebody else's app or somebody else's whatever. That's not the case at all. I'm going to show you what's working for me right now, what me and many, many other people are doing to build multi-million-dollar businesses. And as my business grows, and as I grow as a leader, as my team works, as these things happen, I give you guys the benefit of that knowledge. This is a long-term relationship in many ways. And that's kind of how I look at it. So, I mean, it's a great question. I appreciate that, man. That's good. So it's a lot. The East China trip isn't just I'm taking you and here's how you buy some stuff and here's some dude that speaks Chinese and English. It's I want you to launch and be successful, because if you're launching products, if you understand the law of averages, if you understand just a simple business rule that's been around forever that everybody's heard, it's called the 80-20 rule. It applies to products, it applies to sales, it applies to sales channels, and it applies to your business in so many ways. It's crazy. And these are the things we're going to go over. If you understand that, then you understand launching one product or two products. The law of averages says you're going to fail. So, you know, that's just the things that we go over and we learn and that we are able to do. And that's part of the, you know, the fact that, you know, this is my 7th or 8th business. I made my first million at 23. I'm 51. So I've been around a little bit. And so I can give you the benefit of the mistakes. You know, we call them war stories. You know, we can talk about, you know, the time I lost it all and why. And I love to when we run into a challenge in business, what I don't do is I don't panic. What I do is figure out why the problem came, what caused it, and how we can resolve it. Those are 3 things. That's all I'm going to ask. Ask my employees. If something's messed up, I go, why is this messing up? What caused it to be a problem, and how are we going to resolve it? And then we'll adjust our standard operating procedures to ensure that we don't make that mistake again. You know, mistakes are okay. Failing more, I think the only thing that makes me different than anybody else is I fail more frequently than they do. I'm not afraid of failing. I'm not afraid of launching a product that doesn't do very well. I'm not afraid of launching multiple businesses. I'm not afraid of learning new things. But what I don't do is I try not to make mistakes that will cause me to be out of business. Make lots of small mistakes, because, you know, the more mistakes you make, that one that hits really well. You know, Edison failed almost 1,000 times before he got the light bulb going. Steve Jobs failed before Apple blew up. Apple didn't do really well in the beginning. They kicked him out. And then he went and founded another company, Next, which did okay. But then when he got Pixar, he blew up. And he learned some lessons along that route that he brought back to Apple when he came back. And he turned Apple into what we all know it to be. There isn't another Steve Jobs. I doubt the people that are there today are going to be able to continue that path. It's probably going to become more like a Microsoft. And that's okay. That's just how it happens. You know, Zuckerberg, you know, how many times did he fail before he finally hit it, before the formula came, before he picked it up? You know, that's the thing. What I'm going to do is kind of show you, here's what's working for us now. Here's the mistakes we made and why we made those decisions. And hopefully it helps you avoid some of those problems. There's a series that Jeff and I started on it. We actually started some videos today, and we've started a blog series on it this week. And it has everything to do with importing and bringing your products in and dealing with like customs and paperwork and understanding the terms of freight and dealing with with those type of issues, because we realize there's a lot of people who don't understand that piece, but they're building a business where they're an import company. You're importing products from another country to sell in the United States or UK or Australia. If you don't understand importing, you're going to make some mistakes, and we're seeing the mistakes. We see a lot of them. So the cool part is I'm taking those mistakes that we see or have made, and we use that to help you guys get better. So my goal is to continue to help people grow their business. And the reason is because by doing that, it helps me grow mine. See, if I help people be successful, they help me be successful too. And everybody wins. That's the best business in the world. It lasts longer than any other. And you know, I would rather we all win together, because there's plenty of room. E-commerce is just still in its infancy. It is not. I mean, 100% of retail sales is not e-commerce yet. So there's still massive room. This is a gold rush, and we can all be part of it. But if you don't have a lot of business experience, if you haven't done it before, find a mentor. And I may not be it. I mean, you know, we are all suited to different personality types. You know, I may not be that person, but find a good mentor, one who's really done it. Ask those hard questions. Make them prove it. And then learn from that person. And what you'll do is you probably learn from them until a time comes that you're at the same level. You know, it's kind of like being a black belt in martial arts. Generally, you become a black belt and you stay with one teacher until you're at the same level and you're ready to exceed them. And then you move on to a new teacher. Well, it's very similar when you look for business mentors. Get in a mastermind group. Be with people that are at the same level or higher than you and learn. But take action on what you learn. Most people don't do anything in business at all. Most people want to be in business, but they never take action, and that's why they fail. If you're collecting the knowledge that I'm giving you guys, but you don't put action behind it, then it's worthless. But if you take the information I'm giving you and you put action behind it, I promise you, you will be successful. Because I'm not any smarter than anybody else necessarily. I just am not afraid to put action behind it. I'm an action kind of guy. Ask Jeff. Let's do it, and let's do it now. You know, I make decisions, and when I make a decision, it's time to go. I don't second guess. When I make the decision, it's time to go, and I'm ready to go now. So, you know, and I can accept that if I make that decision and it's wrong, I can accept that. I'm not a failure because I made the incorrect decision. I made the incorrect decision. Let's learn from it, and then make another decision, and keep moving forwards. Fail forwards, right? That's really the difference between me and most people who are probably, you know, that watch the webinars. Most people who are trying to do it. That's really the difference, you know. So I'll always say it like it is. I'll always try to be truthful and straightforward. I try not to. I just don't have time in life to play games. You know, it's just not. It's not worth it. And I know that, you know, my mentor Paul Slack 30 years ago, and we're still best buddies. I watched him. I was in his wedding. He was at mine. We're best buds. He was one of my first earliest mentors in sales, and he taught me the win-win strategy. And he basically said that he's been super successful in his life because he follows that to a T. He's a great person, and he gives all the time without asking for anything. And he's taught me that. And so I try to emulate him because he's still my mentor, even today. Anyway, hopefully that helped ask your question. Sometimes I'll get into some really deep stuff, so. but I do it because I care, guys. That's it. So take action with this knowledge, move it forward. You can be successful too. And if you need help, guess what? We're here to help you. And if you want us to walk you through it and do it with you, come with us to China. Get into one of our masterminds.
We've got Abdi here who's going on the trip. basically asking about like when do we pay for the products we buy in China, and then like what other costs are there going to be, after for prepping and stuff, pictures, inspection,
Yeah,
things
yeah,
like
it's
that.
all of those costs. Yeah, and I actually did a webinar and a series called "The Real Cost of Private Label," because a lot of these get rich quick. If I got $500 and sign up for our thingamajig for $2,000, and we'll teach you how to make $1 zillion on e-commerce. Yeah, what they don't tell you is, you got to buy products, you got to pay taxes, you got to pay to ship it, you need to pay to package it, you need to pay for labeling, you need to pay to warehouse it. There's all these costs that are part of the pie, right? And that's definitely one of the things that we go over a lot more in depth in our masterminds. But there are other costs, and a lot of those you can just look at our website. Go to GDW and look at current pricing, and you can see some of the potential options. At a minimum, you're going to buy products. You're going to pay for them after they're delivered to the, well, you're going to pay for them, but we're not going to release the funds until after they're delivered and we've approved them, right? So, look at them, make sure the quality's right, see that everything's been delivered, pay for the product. Then they're going to get shipped, so you're going to have to pay for shipping. Then they're going to arrive in the country, right? And, if you're U.S. and you're selling in the U.S., they're going to arrive in the U.S. If you're in the U.K., they're going to arrive in the U.K. If you're in South America, they're going to arrive there. Whatever sales channel you want to sell on. Even if you're in the UK, we have people in the UK who sell in the US, and we handle all their products for them. But when the product arrives in the US, the freight's going to have to be paid. Any duty that may be required is going to have to be paid. And then there's potentially going to be some freight, some prep work, or not. It depends on what product you buy and how far along you are in developing that product and that product's life cycle. And at a minimum, there's going to be a cost to ship it into Amazon. And then, of course, Amazon's going to take their fees. And that's why that really cool webinar I did on winning on the buy is very important. Because that's why I also go to China. That's also why we like to do these things, because I probably get my products 30 to 40% less than anybody who's buying the exact same thing on Amazon or on Alibaba. So if you're doing the Alibaba sourcing deal right now and you're buying a blue widget, then it costs you $1. I'm getting it for 60 to 70 cents. Same exact widget from the same manufacturer. And I have no minimum order quantity, and you have a high MOQ. I have a better price, and my shipping's less. So when we talk about unit pricing and the real cost, one of the things we talk about is shipping and what we call landed costs. And landed costs are the cost it costs for you to buy it, get it packaged, get it put under shipment, pay for all the filing fees and stuff you need to pay in China to get it out of the. There's an export cost. Then pay for all the import costs into the country you're in before you ship it in, and then what it costs you to get it into Amazon. So you add all those costs up, and that's your landed cost, right? And so let's say you buy that widget and you ship it air freight, and it costs you $1.50 per unit to ship it, and it costs you $1 per unit to buy it. You got $2.50 in it. You got to put a label on it for 20 cents. Now you got $2.70 in it, and you're paying for shipping into Amazon plus whatever their little fees are. So let's say you got $3 in that product. You have $3. If you learn the way I do it, you're gonna get it for 60 cents. You're gonna pay 15 cents to ship it. You're gonna still have about 20 cents in prep, so the label cost doesn't change much. And you're going to ship it into Amazon. So your total landed cost into Amazon for that product, your landed cost is under $1. So if I can buy mine for $1 and you pay $3 for yours, how much do you have to sell yours for, and how much do I have to sell mine for? Well, if you paid $3, you need to use Keystone pricing because you got $3 in cost. Wholesale is double that. That's $6. Retail is double the wholesale price, which means you got to sell it for $12. But then you also have Amazon fees and other costs on top of that, including shipping and everything. So you probably need to sell it for more in the $14 or $15 range. So you have to sell it for 14 to 15 bucks. I got $1 in it. I'm already $2 cheaper than you are. I can make the same margin, $2 cheaper than you can, using the same pricing model. You'd have to give up margin to match my price. I could give up the same margin as you can, and you couldn't match me, which means I can be the lowest seller on Amazon as far as price, which means I have a competitive advantage over you. See, the gurus don't teach you that stuff because they don't know it. But if you come with us, this is what I'm going to show you. This is competitive advantage. This is the difference between the guys that are doing 30, 40, $50 million a year online and the guys that are doing 10,000 a month, 4,000 a month, 5,000 a month, 100,000 a year, maybe $1 million. So these are the things that we teach. These are the things that I think this is kind of what, decades of experience in business gives you an advantage in these areas. You learn these rules and you understand this a little bit better than someone who hasn't. So that's the kind of stuff that we teach and what we try to help you guys with so that we can help you be successful. Why? Because if we help you be successful, we're successful too. Good question.
Cool. Stephen, do you have any recommended resources for getting into getting my Amazon product into retail stores?
Yeah, I actually do. It's called a telephone. And I know that's kind of sounds smart alecky like, but it's honest. I got into Ross and TJ Maxx by calling them on the phone. There's really nothing special to it. Their buyers are looking for products all the time. Same thing, Walmart is almost just as easy to get into. They're looking for new products all the time. All the time. They never stop looking for new products. If you have a decent, viable product, you can show some sales history, and they trust that you can deliver the volumes that they're looking for, they'll be willing to give you a shot. They may just do some test orders in a few stores to see how well it does, and if the product does well in the store, if it's ready for retail ready is different than Amazon ready, guys. Costs more, takes a little bit more time. But retail, if it's retail ready and does well in the store, they'll place larger orders. Then your problems will just have begun. Retail is different, but it's just as simple as just calling and asking and finding out who their buyers are, who's in charge of buying, when is their buying seasons. Generally, retailers buy based on seasons, and they buy ahead of the season, at least 1 quarter ahead, sometimes up to 6 months or longer ahead of time. They may be buying this year for what they're going to sell next year, right now. It's also why we don't do Canton Fair in October, because that is actually 2017 buying season, not 2016. That's why we're going in July, at the end of July and beginning of August, because based upon manufacturing timetables and based on shipping timetables, we can have product in Amazon in October at the beginning of Q4, allowing us to get most of our products up for sale, launched, and moving for the Q4 mass rush. Right is the time you should be building your inventory and launching your products for Q4.
Cool. Gary wants, and I think Gary's going on the trip. He wants to know if we have a copywriting service. Maybe we should.
Nah, you don't need it. You really don't need it. 5 to 10 years ago, copy was really important as far as your listings. And Gary, I'm forgiving, you can clarify this if you need to. If you're thinking copy as far as writing your descriptions and your bullet points and stuff like that for your listings and your titles and stuff, there's a faster, easier way to do that. You don't need that. 5 to 10 years ago, that was probably a lot more important than it is today. But today, with the explosion of mobile devices, just open up Amazon in a mobile. Open up Amazon's mobile app. Open up eBay's mobile app and tell me what you see. People buy with their eyes more than they buy with words and what they read. So the number one most important part of your e-commerce business is the photographs. You need keywords, you need to be able to get searched, you need to be able to get indexed. Those things are important, and those are easy. Those aren't that complex. Photographs are what causes people to click and buy. If all things are equal and your photographs are better, you will get bought before the other people get bought. Matter of fact, I sell products higher than most of my competitors in many ways. In many of them, I'm never the lowest price. I never. That's like a cardinal sin for me. I would rather sell value and do great photography and sell for market or better than be the person who sells on price. Because people who sell on price don't stay in business very long. So, but copy, if you're building a website and you're doing like the GDW and we're building all this content, um, that's potentially, that's when that potentially is more important. If you're going to do a niche site and have a blog and stuff like that, you can find copywriters who can write articles and stuff for your blog pretty inexpensively. If your blog is more expert blog, much like ours is, that's more of a challenge. Basically, Jeff and I write most of the content that happens there, and then we have other people in the group that help with content as well. But other than that, if it's for listings, you don't necessarily need it, and I'll teach you guys the shortcut on how to put your listings up in about 15 minutes or less. That has worked for me for at least the last 6 years.
All right. Kudos from Nathaniel. You're welcome, Nathaniel. Loves the info-packed webinars. Greg. Okay, so Gary. Yeah, Gary was just kind of agreeing with you. Yes, all cool. Will we go over all this in the mastermind?
Yes.
Cool.
Yes, we will definitely be going over everything you need in the mastermind as far as getting yourself ready to make your listings and launch your products.
No stone unturned, as I like to say.
Good one, thanks.
Okay,
But
so
hey Jeff, I'm going to caveat that real quick.
yeah,
I'm not gonna do the work for you. I'm there to teach you to do it for yourself. The goal is for you to leave knowing how to do it without me. And your choice is to allow me to help you. So expect that I'm going to, go over subjects. I'm going to show it to you, but then I'm going to act because you need to know how to run your business and you need how to do it. And if I died tomorrow, you wouldn't want me to do it. I'd be dead. So, and it's something we used to do when you launch tech companies and you raise money from venture capital. One of the things they look for, and it's called what if you got hit by the bus? They kind of the hit by the bus mentality, and that is if you're the smartest guy and the only one in the room who knows how to do it, and you get hit by the bus, what's going to happen to the company they're investing millions and millions of dollars into? It's going to die. So what they want to make sure is that that lots of people are cross-trained and everybody knows how to do it, and that way the head guy has to go for some reason. There's someone who can take up the reins and continue to move the company forwards. And that's a methodology we use here. We cross-train our guys all the time, so that way it's not just me who's able to help make sure your products get done. It's not just me doing all your photographs. It's not just me unloading trucks. It's not just me prepping your products. It's not just me developing listings. And it's the same way when I build my business. I couldn't do what I'm doing right now if I had to worry about being up and packaging products and doing listings tomorrow. So it's kind of that's kind of the goal. It's to help make sure you guys know how to do it for yourself, and walk you through it and critique it and help you make adjustments.
There you go. We create independent business leaders, not dependent business followers.
Nice. I like that one. That's cool.
Uh, Greg, hello. I heard that Amazon doesn't recognize some China suppliers. Did you ever have that experience?
What do you mean doesn't recognize them? I never asked them to recognize them. I'm not recognize them for what?
Yeah, clarify, Greg, if you're still on. Going to clarify that would be awesome.
If it's your product in your brand, then what do they need to recognize? As far as Amazon's concerned, you're the manufacturer, or you've partnered with the manufacturer to make it for you. In that case, it shouldn't really matter. I've never had that problem. I've had a competitor accuse us of having this is funny. So I'm in food, right? I have another company called MH Nutrition, and it's a licensed food packaging company in the state of Texas. I have probably 7 companies, guys. This is not my only business. So I say I develop processes and put people in place and develop leaders. So one of my companies is a food packing company. We actually manufacture it. We source the raw materials, but we manufacture it. We have our own formulas, our own packaging, everything. And I had someone accuse us on Amazon of having a counterfeit product. And Amazon shut the listing off. And I just went back to Amazon and said, we're the manufacturer. Here's our licenses. Here's everything else. We are part of the brand registry. Why'd you shut our listing off? And it took them only about a minute, and they turned it back on because we are the manufacturer. And I treat them the same way on the stuff I get from China, too. And I don't have to give them a receipt because we're the manufacturer. You know, if they ask for receipts, I say, do you need raw material receipts? Do you need receipts for my molds and stuff that I manufacture? What do you need receipts for? We are the manufacturer. Most of the, and I've never had them give me any trouble for that. So it's just a little technique that we use that seems to work really well.
Cool. Kelly, last question so far. Kelly's basically asking, when you were talking about going into the retail stores, showing good sales history, what time frame are you talking about when you say showing good sales history?
Well, I mean, I generally, you know, a product probably needs 12 months to get going and get the volume that you're looking to before you want to start trying to play there. At least in my opinion, and that's my only. You know, you may find one that hits it out of the park right up front, and you may have more success early on. But generally, if I'm looking to take a product to retail, I'm looking for one that's got enough sales history that I can go and show some solid numbers on. You know, and so I'm trying to show them 12 months worth of numbers. Hey, last year, or here's the 12 last consecutive months worth of sales history, and I can show them where that's at. I think that's generally a little more acceptable. Now, I have done it with brand new products that we were just liquidating, that we got, and it wasn't a good product for us. It didn't do as well as we had hoped it to, and I was able to sell that to a retail store. All of it. I actually sold 5 semi-truckloads of a entire brand. I actually liquidated a brand and sold 5 semi-truckloads to a retail store, and they took it and put it in all their stores and sold it. But you know, usually if I'm taking something into retail, I'm going to do that. If I'm looking to try to sell it into like Walmart or a place of that type.
All right, that is all the questions, sir. Got any final thoughts to close out the evening?
Ooh, it's an early one. Nice. Well, you know, hopefully you guys got value out of the webinars. We try to make sure that they're packed with good information, try to answer your questions as best as we can. And I'm trying to constantly look at information that, you know, we have experience in, like multi-channel sales, to be able to kind of give you guys that information on maybe, what's coming for you if you're, just starting out. This, like I said, maybe a little bit advanced to the quick launch method, or the real cost of private labeling may be something that you want to look into next. The China sourcing, it's actually appropriate for brand new people who are just trying to get started, all the way up to intermediate or higher level sale people who haven't done direct sourcing or maybe don't do it the same way we do. We've had people who've had $3 or $4 million per year businesses that have come and learned from us. We learn from everybody. Everybody's got their expertise and their experiences, and we match them together. So hopefully this was good and you got value out of it. We definitely would love to see you on a trip. And if you're invited, if your sales volume is where it needs to be, and you are an intermediate to advanced level seller, we'd love to see you at our year-end mastermind and see how that goes. But I know that the way things are moving in GDW, we are just running and gunning. I got 21 more products to launch in Q4 to hit my 100 products for the year. And so my goal when we go to China is to source and find 21 viable products by not throwing spaghetti on the wall, but by finding the products, doing the research, understanding the market, and making intelligent choices and decisions based upon information, so that we can launch those products with the highest potential for success. And that's what we do. That's how I've learned to scale my business, and I've learned it from guys that are doing $12 to $35 million a year, because my mentors are at that level, and they're so far advanced. So the things that I'm learning and the way that I'm building my company is based upon what I'm learning from my mentors. And so, I'm passing that information on to you guys to help you. So hopefully it's viable and valuable, and can help you all come to China and source with us and be in our mastermind group. And hopefully a bunch of you will end up in our $1 Million Club, and even do greater and bigger things as we change our own lives and control our own destiny. So look forward to seeing you. You guys' time is valuable. We appreciate it. And I am going to go get ready to go to bed because I got to get up early. I'll be awake at 6.
Awesome. Thanks for everything you do always, Alan, sharing with everybody. I really appreciate it. And yeah, thanks to everybody for staying on, answering the questions. We couldn't have these amazing webinars without you. So I'll close with a quote. We are all born geniuses. The challenge is living life without letting the world de-genius us. Thanks a lot, everybody. Have a great night. We'll see you again soon. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.